Okay, and so we got the Savant 10, which is, in fact, I believe, the best possible Omni tool. So let's take a look at that real quick. In addition to getting another Pulse Rifle 10, which is the Geth Assault Rifle. So that's a very rare one. Another Frictionless Materials 10, also quite good. So let's take a look at this Omni tool real quick. Not sure we've ever gotten a Savant Omni tool yet, but this is why. This is why I was saying that's probably worth picking up, because look at how good that is. From a tech cooldown bonus standpoint, 50 is just insane. I mean, I'm actually not sure from a cooldown standpoint if that quite literally means that you're getting your tech cooldowns 50% faster, so you're using your tech abilities twice as quickly. That'd be ridiculous. So that's, and then, you know, you get a somewhat significant bonus to shields, at least, you know, if we're talking about changing from our current Omni tool, which gives us 0 shields, up to one that gives us 35. That's something. You know, if we have someone else who has an Omni tool that already has some shields, then maybe it's not as big of a difference. And then the med recharge bonus. I mean, we are trying to use Metagel more regularly nowadays, so that might be a thing. So we could take it. Technically speaking, the person who would get the most use out of it when she's with us would be Tali, and it is basically just a better version across the board of the Omni tool that she's currently using. So maybe what we do is we give her the Savant 10, and then we'll take the Omni tool that she was just using, which was... That? No. It was this. Yeah, which is better than ours, just... Or same tech cooldown bonus, which again is the most relevant thing, but gives us a little bit of extra shields, a little bit of extra med recharge, so there's a small upgrade there. Yeah, I think that's probably still best for us. And so the opportunity cost was that we did not choose to get an armor upgrade for Tali. And in terms of how much incremental damage from the, or incremental cooldown we get from the Omni tool versus incremental defenses from the armor for Tali, I do think the armor would have given us a bigger upgrade. It was just that, again, we know for a fact we are always going to have at least one person who can use that Omni tool, whereas it's only going to be relevant getting that additional Quarian armor when we have Tali in our party. And, you know, we may end up having her with us for the long haul here, but I mean, there's still a non-zero chance that perhaps even at the very end of the game we might be able to snag some good Quarian armor at a vendor, which I think is probably still a higher probability of happening than picking up an upgraded Omni tool. So let's see, we can safely free the human hostages now that the charges have been deactivated. So we can do that, and we should also make a point of talking about the missing engineers, which actually not entirely sure where Simon is now that we've spoken to him, because obviously I would have liked to have just turned everything in right there, and I was a little surprised by the direction that we were allowed to go in there, where we said, despite having found the engineers already, how do you think we would find them? And then actually said, we have not yet found them, which was just a blatant lie. Alright, but we have this room here, which is where the hostages were being kept. So we can let them out. We'll just casually saunter off, not even thank us.
To save us. I half expected you to just let us die. Sacrifice the few for the many.
And interestingly enough, small little detail here, this music that's playing in the background is technically the romance music. So it's a little strange that it's playing here. Like, I get that this is an emotional moment, yes, but not that kind of moment. So, I mean, yeah, she's basically making the same point that Simon made, that it was a bold move that we made, saving them and letting the criminal go, but you know, we chose to save the people in the short term. Again, I mean, you really could make a case for either option.
Then I'd be no better than the Batarians.
But then maybe
Besides,
we'd be no better than the
Alec won't get away
Batarians.
with this. I know who he is now. He can't run forever.
You sound like my brother. He was always so stubborn, but always willing to do the right thing, no matter what.
Was he the one that got shot? Because remember, so this was the person, Kate Bowman, who was the initial person, I think, that was messaging us over the radio as we were going through this asteroid. And eventually we did manage to talk a little bit with Simon. But we did hear, I think it was after the second torch that we deactivated, we saw Balak basically threaten us and, or, well, I think he more so threatened Kate, and said, tell me who it is who's deactivating all these torches, and then put a gun to one of the engineers' head, and Kate didn't say who it was or didn't give enough details, and so Balak just shot the guy and he died. So, I think that's who Shepard's alluding to here.
Your brother was the one Balak killed?
Yes. Aaron. He was the one who convinced me to join the team here. Said it would be an adventure. I don't mean to sound ungrateful, but I should see to Aaron.
Now that makes total sense. Total sense.
You've been through enough today. I'll get out of your way.
Thank you. Oh, I don't even know your name.
You see, we're Spectre.
Commander Shepard, with Special Tactics and Reconnaissance.
Thank you, Commander Shepard. You're not exactly what I expected, but thank you.
What's that supposed to mean? Huh? I mean, we said we're not going to keep you, but at the same time, can you tell us anything else about the Batarians?
What can you tell me about the Batarians? What were they hoping to achieve?
Just be a total hypocrite?
I don't even think they knew. When they first arrived, they were talking about getting us back to their ship. Wanted to sell us as slaves. When Balak showed up, everything changed. It was his idea to redirect the asteroid. Said it was the will of the Batarian rebellion, whatever that is. They followed him quickly enough, but I don't know. I don't think they're all as fanatical as he was.
So that's an interesting point. Because remember, we were talking to Karn, the second in command, and he was saying that that was his initial intention, was just to make this a quote-unquote slave grab, which obviously is not a good thing. Capturing people and bring them in as slaves and then selling those slaves for profit. Definitely not a good thing. But if that's, that's, what, 5 or 6 people's lives compared to, what, the 2 million lives that they were putting at risk, or trying to kill, by sending this asteroid crashing into things. The asteroid crashing into things definitely more extreme. And so it seems like it was Karn, who was the first one here, who was just trying to do the slave grab. But then, based on what Kate just said, sounds like then Balak showed up and was like, hold on, I've got another plan here. And changed the whole point of the mission for them. And turned it into the whole activate the torches to have the asteroid crash into the planet. And so that is consistent with what we heard from Karn. So that's interesting. That does seem as though Karn was being pretty honest with us. And we, of course, did let him go. So I suppose, in that case, it's perhaps a good thing that we did. He's, or at least, he's comparatively much more innocent than Balak was. Although I suppose you can still certainly make the case that he's guilty of a crime, just not as significant of a crime. But, let's see. What about the asteroid?
How did the asteroid get all the way over here? Why wasn't someone alerted sooner?
The asteroid was scheduled to arrive in a day or two. Balak just sped it up. This rock is full of valuable minerals, but it was too far from Terra Nova to be profitable, so we attached some fusion rockets to it and drove it back. It was all going smoothly until... We'll get everything back to normal soon enough. Almost everything.
Yeah, except for your brother. What about you? What about you, Kate?
That was a brave thing you did, Kate. Contacting me on the radio, risking your life.
It's true.
Stubborn and determined runs in the family. My father was in the Alliance back on Earth. I think he was disappointed none of us kids signed up, but he'd be proud of Aaron. Sorry. I just...
Yeah, we should go.
You've been through a lot. I'll get out of your way. So long, Kate.
I appreciate that, Commander. Goodbye.
Okay. Well, we have now basically done everything here except for, actually not sure. Given how things are grayed out with the whole, scientist stuff.
So much. I thought we were all dead.
Not sure if we'll still get the chance.
Thank you again, Commander.
That,
You've done more than you know.
yeah, that's Aaron. But can we still talk to Simon? And, if so, where exactly? He might be on the way out, but I'm not 100% certain about that. Also, there may be some sources of loot still remaining around here, so let's just poke around a little bit before we head out entirely.
Why now? What do the Batarians want?
Just like chilling, looking at the bomb that we defused. Okay, that's just a little strange. So yeah, because this mission, especially at the end there, when you're trying to defuse all of those, gives you less time. If you're on higher difficulties, it gets very challenging because you have very little wiggle room. Basically, you are more or less required to perfectly time running up to all the explosives and defusing them immediately. And if you accidentally, say, run too long and get fatigued, then that'll backfire on you. It'll take you a while to get back, being able to run again, and at that point, you are in serious trouble. Let's see. There. Yeah, so I'm just going to try to cover as much ground as possible here. Make sure that we didn't miss anything. So yeah, this is the top floor up here, where we had a couple of those explosives that we had to defuse. I think one on either side. And then the main floor, which definitely had some of those explosives on several of the explosives. Anything up there's stuff down there in the bottom floor as well. Let's see, this is where random generic scientist. Yeah, that's where we were previously. Okay. Try to make sure we don't miss Simon. And I'm hoping that by going that direction with the conversation that we had with him, the last conversation we had with Simon, that we didn't lock ourselves out of doing something. So that would be rather unfortunate. Okay, we also, of course, have more grenade storage kits, but we are still at maximum grenades, so it's not really a factor. Although I suppose in some ways, that does mean that you could be very aggressive with your grenades here. Throw them around quite a bit, and then I think there are at least one or two of those grenade storage containers that you can use to restock a bit. Alright, so let's see. Then we have another one down here, yep. And this is another place where this was the final of the explosives, or technically it's the one we did second, but you know what I mean. Callie... oh, Callie's there. Oh, and Rex is there. Lovely.
Powering up.
All targets down.
So here's another one of these guys. Callie. Thank you. It's not letting me shoot at Rex. There we go. Just trying to get as many of those usages of the meta-gels happening as possible, because again, we're gonna need to get a lot more of them to complete the achievement, but anyways. So what I want to see is Simon on the way out here? Is this where his office is? It is. Okay, great. So let's try chatting with him again here.
Say, Shepard, you didn't happen to find any of my engineers, did you?
Yeah, so what we did is last time we took this option here, which I was curious to see what direction this would take us in, because, you know, we did already find them, so I didn't think it would, I thought it would still end up in us saying, yeah, we found them, but it did not, and the conversation ended. But, let's make sure we make it clear that we did find them.
Their bodies, anyway.
Oh, I see. Well then, I guess it's better than not knowing.
Take care of yourself.
Be well, Shepard. We owe you.
Okay, and, well, actually, turns out there's apparently no reward for that, because I did not see any experience, any credits, anything, really. Maybe, no, it's not even like we're at the maximum number of, credits here, either. And with that, I believe, take a look at our map here, that we have more or less explored everything on Asteroid X-57, and of course we've now completed all the missions here. And that means that we are now all set with Bring Down the Sky, and by extension, we may be all set with every single side quest in the game, dare I say. Let's head back to the Normandy. Okay. And there were several missions sort of wrapped up in one for Bring Down the Sky. So we may see that we could theoretically have some new stuff stocked with the Alliance Requisition Officer. Can't get anything from our locker there, but so be it. Let's see. Were we at maximum metagel? We may not have been. I'd have needed that. I feel like we might have had just one metagel that we had remaining. Alright, so let's see if there's any more level 10 Spectre gear, or at this point, I think the thing that we want more than anything would probably be a Quarian armor upgrade, because that's what we passed up on.
Looking for supplies?
At the end of Bring Down the Sky.
Let's see what you've got.
You bet, Commander.
So let's see. And I think our answer is seemingly no. At least not with the Alliance Requisition Officer. Now we could theoretically even head back over to the Citadel to see if maybe the Spectre Requisition, or technically I think his name is just Requisition Officer, in the CSEC area has anything for us. See, is the other person who can sell us the best possible gear. And because, at least according to our assignments and journal here, assignments, everything is complete. Missions, the only thing we have left is to go through the new relay, to go to Ilos. And as I was mentioning a little bit previously, I mean, you can probably tell, based on how there is quite literally nothing else on the agenda here, that is the point of no return. So I want to make sure that we've done any and everything that we want to do before we actually take that step. So we quite literally saved Bring Down the Sky for last. There is Ilos over in that direction, but let's just take one last look at the Citadel. At the very least, the Requisition Officer, maybe there's a quest that we missed, but I don't know. Okay, so let's head over to the Citadel. Oh, although actually, tell you what, we are not allowed to go back because, there's the whole thing where, you know, we kind of got kicked off. Since, we, you know, were in lockdown, and then Anderson had to punch, Ambassador Udina in the face just to get us out of lockdown, and then we ran off and escaped. So, you know, probably can't exactly go back after having done that, because, people probably not too happy with us at the moment. In which case, it is Ilos or nothing at this stage. So, for that reason, you know, if there's anything that you want to sell, if there's anything that you want to talk to your teammates about, this is the time to do it, because after starting Ilos, you will not be able to do any of that. So this is the time to do any little things you had remaining that you might have been holding out on. So I think we will talk to the Alliance Requisition Officer after all. And this time just to sell some junk, because we may be getting close to having a full inventory here, because we picked up a lot of stuff during Bring Down the Sky. And we have a lot of repeats here at this stage, and including some level 10 gear. So this should be fairly valuable to sell. We don't need this many Inferno rounds. Sure, we can dump some of those. And then we probably don't need this many kinetic exoskeletons either, even if they're level 10. But it's certainly the level 9 stuff at this point. We can be fairly confident that we aren't going to need that. And then the lower level armors and weapons and what have you. I mean, now that we have a bunch of Spectre gear, probably worth making sure we have at least one good weapon that is not Spectre gear. Like the Volkov, I think is probably, or generally speaking, I think it's Rosenkopf Materials. Their stuff is the best for weapons, at least, when we're not talking about Spectre gear. So it's basically, let's have all the Spectre gear, and then let's make sure that we have at least one level 10 Rosenkopf Materials weapon, so that way if we do need a backup, we still have one. And this theoretically could be something we could use with Ashley if we were wanting to prioritize the tech biotic protection. Let's see. So we don't need that many avalanches, I can tell you that much. And Sokolov, let's one of those. That's definitely not needed. And I think at this point, Hazard Armor, don't think it's super relevant, but suppose maybe we'll hold on to one of them just in case, because for New Game Plus, if you are going to do that, I believe, if I remember correctly, that you still keep not only the gear that you have equipped, but I think also the gear you have just in your inventory. So, you know, in theory, if we were to ever play a New Game Plus, then you might like to have a level 10 hazard resistance armor, so that, you know, going through all those uncharted worlds where there's a decent number of them that have hazards, it'd be nice to have level 10 gear so that it's not a huge sacrifice to put on that type of armor defensively. Then assault rifles. Yeah, Kolyov I think is going to be the priority here. A couple of those just in case. Then, like, this stuff, no. Death Pulse rifles, I'll keep a couple of those just because they are interesting. They are level 10, they are rare, they're tough to get. But then, at this point, I think just about anything else. Probably pretty safe to sell because these shotguns are all lower rarity. Same with these snipers. That is level 10 Colossus Armor for Turians. So it is the best, except that it's light armor, which means that it'll have lower damage protection and I think lower shields. It may have higher tech/biotic protection, so that might be worth holding on to just in case. That could potentially be worth throwing on Garrus in some situations. Then I think again this is, yeah, level 10 Krogan armor in this case, though it is medium, which is a little meh. Other than that, though, this is definitely all sellable stuff here. But we are now at the maximum credit number, so there is no longer any point to selling, and especially since we don't really have any plans on buying anything else, credits at this point, pretty much irrelevant. In terms of Omnigel, however, we could turn some things into Omnigel here, like the level 9 pulse rifle as well. We have a couple level 10, so I think that's safe. And, oh, did I, what? Excuse me? Burnt all, por favor? Thank you. I might have accidentally turned something into Omnigel that I don't mean to turn to Omnigel. Uh-oh, now I'm concerned. What did I get rid of? I got rid of a level 10 pulse rifle, didn't I? Okay, well, we still We still have one of them, so it's not the end of the world. But that is a little unfortunate. I mean, it's probably still not anything that we're ever going to use, but it's an intriguing item at the very least. Right, so then... hold on. I wanted to mark you both. Get you both simultaneously. And this is bad. Get rid of you. And the edge is very bad. As is the Kessler. Razor's a little bit better. Stiletto is not. Stinger is not. Striker is not. Karpov is good, but we'd like it at level 10, and we actually don't have it at level 10. Ooh. Okay, so we don't have any of the next best pistols below the level 10 Spectre gear. So hopefully we've already given one of those out to somebody. Oh. Don't you, although, I mean, this is going to be more than enough. It's going to be well over enough to get us to the maximum Omnigel number, but on the assumption that other items that we pick up are going to be better than whatever we have here, it is probably still worth crashing some of these. So that way we can say with confidence that when we do pick something up, we're going to want to keep it. Do we want that incendiary? Sure, I guess we keep it, because it is technically our highest incendiary explosive. So yeah, basically what I'm doing here is we are turning it into items into Omnigel, even though we can't actually carry that Omnigel. The idea is basically just to give ourselves more inventory space. So we're more or less just purely discarding these items because they're bad. And anything that we do pick up at this point is almost guaranteed to be better. So it's basically just being a little proactive about that. Light Turian armor? No, I think we have... It's hazard armor, yes, but I think we have better hazard armor? Do we? For Garrus? We don't, actually. We actually don't. That's Predator 9. Don't we have Predator 10? Or no, we have Colossus 10. Alright, so I guess we keep that as well. Okay, then, I mean, we just have, like, ammo. And sledgehammer rounds are really good. But we probably don't need that many of them. Well, yes, we keep them just because, you know, we can keep them and get rid of the level 9 sledgehammer rounds instead. Snowblind. We have level 10 of those, we do. Yes, and this is the kind of thing where, at this stage in the game, when you have basically just the best versions of some items, you can definitively say, okay, well, we don't need the weaker versions in that case. Unless you start getting down to level 7, in which case there are some items that level 7 is the highest possible level for them, like shredder rounds, like tungsten rounds. So, I mean, we deliberately were stockpiling many of those, but, you know, do we need 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 10 tungsten rounds, when we probably still have some people who currently have them equipped as well. That is what? That's enough for everyone in the party to have 3 weapons equipped with tungsten rounds simultaneously. It's a lot. That is a lot. And from an upgrade standpoint here, I think we definitely can dump stabilizers, the level stabilizers. Got plenty of the higher level versions of those to go around, and same with combat scanners. Yeah. I think. Get rid of the level 9 combat optics as well. This should give us a lot of room, I think. We dump all this stuff. That we should not be concerned at all, I would hope, about running out of space for, ideally, the rest of the game. So, like I said, this is the last, really the last time, period, to talk to any of your party members. We did make a point to talk to them after Vermeer, so I don't think we're gonna find anything new here, but if you're playing along with us, and you've not made a point of being terribly chatty, then now is the time to catch up with your team. And with all that being said, I think that means that we are now ready to head through that relay. But let's save. Because again, make this super clear. Make sure you've done absolutely everything that you want to do in Mass Effect 1 as a whole before you head over to Ilos in the Pangea Expanse, because once you do, there's no going back. And I do believe at this point we have done quite literally every single side mission that we can do. Of course, knowing that there is one thing specifically that you cannot do when you are, or at least not without like serious exploits for Paragon and Renegade points. There's one specific mission that we could not do because we went Paragon before we went with the Renegade, and conversely, if you were to have gone with a Renegade playthrough, there was the Besiege-based mission in which we fought the biotic terrorists who were taking the drugged hostages, or drugged scientists hostage, and we were trying to spare all of them. That is the mission that you would not have been able to do if you had gone the Renegade route, unless you went crazy on also using some of the Paragon, Infinite Paragon Source exploits. And so I have double checked, and I am fairly certain that we have gotten quite literally every, at least, planet that we can possibly visit, and quests on those planets that we can do. Again, obviously we can't actually go back to the Citadel at this stage. We were fairly thorough with our searches previously, basically between every main quest mission, to verify as to whether there was anything else that we could do on the Citadel. So I'm fairly confident that we have, more or less, done everything we could do to 100% this game. But there's actually one thing that I want to double check before we do go over to Ilos. One thing that I almost forgot, and this is, admittedly, this is very nitpicky, but I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here. Minor spoiler, I suppose, but after starting Ilos, you will be locked in with basically everything, and that means that if we say have a really nice piece of gear on somebody that we would rather have on somebody else, and one of those people is sitting on the Normandy, not with us in one of those missions, then we will not be able to move that item from the person we don't want it on over to the person that we want to be using that item. So, basically what I mean is, if someone is hogging a really good item, and we want that item on someone else, then we should change that around now. So, like, for example, if somebody is hogging our level 10 Spectre weapons, or maybe the next best weapon, like in this case, Ashley has the next best assault rifle. So if we're not going to have her use that, or if we're not going to have her at all, then we perhaps would want to have someone else doing that. But then again, there are only 2 people who are trained with sniper rifles, and one of them is Ashley, so probably fair to say that she should have one of those. But like, for example, definitely wouldn't want to have Ashley hogging one of our few top-tier pistols, because those are in high demand, and she is probably the person who needs them least of all, the highly leveled pistols. And then shotguns, I mean, she could definitely use a better shotgun here. So if we are going to use her, then we'd like to have the chance to throw something else on. We do have the Sokolov here, which is the next best after the Spectre level 10 gear. So we could swap that on if we are to use her. And then, from an assault rifle standpoint, similar story with the Kolyov here. But somebody does appear to be, or we do appear to have used all of our level 10, assault rifles, and shotguns, and pistols. So, we should be mindful of that, I think. Like, does Garrus have any right now? Yeah, Garrus has a level 10 assault rifle from the Spectre stuff. So, for that reason, I think we give him Kovalyov, which is not as good. But, what this does is that if we, say, don't want to use Garrus, then, you know, we can use this best possible assault rifle on someone else, and if we do want to use Garrus, then we just swap him into that, and great. I mean, you could even do the same thing when it comes to upgrades and ammo types, but, I mean, that is theoretically worth doing, yes. For the sake of keeping things moving here, I think I won't go into that level of detail, but if you are really trying to min-max things out, then that is theoretically something that you would probably want to do. And so another question here would be with biotic amps and with omni tools and what have you. Wanted to make sure that we have the best possible options available to whichever characters we choose to have with us. So I think for that reason, I'm deliberately going to put a bad biotic amp on Rex here, and if we do end up using him, then sure, we'll upgrade, we'll give him a better one. But that way, he's not sitting on the Normandy hogging one of the best items when he's not actually with us. And Sniper is not relevant for you. You, for Pistol, okay, good, you're not hogging one of the best ones. So that's also a good idea. You have a decent backup, though. Then you do have one of the best shotguns, and that is in very high demand. So I think what we do is we do give you something else here, and in fact, let's deliberately give you something that is not that good. Again, the idea there being that, sure, if we bring him along with us, then we'll swap into the better one. But if we don't bring him with us, then we can put that best shotgun on someone else. Then you're also using the best assault rifle. So I think another case of let's make sure that is available to whoever we bring with us, and maybe it will be you, but maybe it won't. So why don't we put the pulse rifle on him? And that also means that the upgrades will not carry over, because remember, the pulse rifle, although it has high stats, does not have any room for any upgrades or ammo to go with it. So, I mean, if he was hogging good upgrades, then sure, that's one way to automatically unequip them and make them available to other people. So, again, if we do use them, we'll swap into the level 10 gear here for the Spectre gear. But it at least opens up the options for others. Then for Tali, did we give her the best Omni tool? We did. So, again, if we bring her with us, we definitely will want to put that Omni tool on her, for sure. But for now, let's give her a terrible Omni tool, so that whoever else we do end up bringing with us definitely has access to this Savant 10, because that is a prime example, because we only have one Savant 10. Prime example of something that we absolutely want to make sure that we have with us for the end of the game, because, well, otherwise, we went through all that effort doing Bring Down the Sky to pick up that Omni tool, and, well, we're not going to get the chance to use it, and that would stink. Then for you, okay, you are using one of the best pistols. I think it's you and it's us. We are the two that have the best pistols right now, so again, let's swap one of those out. So that way that is available to people. And you are the other person who's using the best shotgun. So again, let's swap that out and just have it available to whoever we choose to bring with us. And then you're not using anything special for assault rifle because you're not trained on that, so that's fine. Then lastly we have Liara, and I think the big question for you will be biotic amp-wise. Yeah, you do have the best biotic amp. So, I think again, we'll give you a significantly worse one, at least for now, and then if we do choose to bring you along with us, then we'll upgrade it. And from an Omni tool standpoint, your Omni tool is decent, but our other ones that we have in our inventory here might be better. I mean, the Chameleon tool looks worse, but again, since I prioritize tech cooldown above any and everything else, I think potentially is still worse than the one she has equipped. So let's keep the one she has right now. Then, let's just double check other stuff. I think the pistol is the primary question here. Okay, well, you definitely don't have one of the better pistols here. It is, the right manufacturer, but it is level 9. And that's the one that we would love to have on level 10. And then you shouldn't really have anything else terribly big here. Your shotgun's actually not that bad. But, I think that's because, what was it, on Pharos, was it? Where we were memeing a bit and having you use high explosive rounds and a bunch of frictionless materials and just trying to have you blow up all the Thorian creepers. So, sure. It is a lower level frictionless materials and a lower level high explosive rounds, although frictionless materials in particular is a hard one to get. So maybe we deliberately downgrade that just in case we don't bring you with us. That way, still have some decent options available to us. Oh, that was not what I meant to do. Huzzah. Okay, and then you have a surprisingly good assault rifle, but again, it's not so good that it is one of our best ones available to us, so I think you're fine. So I think we have now succeeded in more or less having all of our best items in our inventory unequipped, so that whoever we bring with us can then take that stuff with them, rather than having someone sitting on the sidelines who's putting the best equipment to waste. So that's the idea there. And now, let's save. Because I think this is the point where we will now finally make our move and head on over to Ilos. In fact, I'm gonna keep on canceling out of this, but let's read up about it before we do so, because I'm not sure if we have done that yet. Have we? Have we? Plants and locations? I mean, that being said, we have a lot of codex entries to catch up on as well, I suppose, that we have not, we've said for a while that we would, we'd catch up eventually, yes, and maybe, seeing as how, things I think are about to get quite heated, this might be a good time to do a lot of speed reading here. So, we may not do absolutely everything right now, but in the interest of trying to check off a little bit more of this stuff, let's see. So, plants and locations, Arcturus Station. Arcturus Station is the gateway to Sol, a 5-kilometer diameter Stanford Taurus type space station at the training Lagrange point of the gas giant Themis. Construction on Arcturus Station began in 2151 and concluded in 2162. It was inaugurated in 2156 and has served as the military and political headquarters of the Systems Alliance from the First Contact War until the present. When humanity activated the Charon mass relay in 2149, it led to Arcturus, 36 light-years from Sol, Earth's sun. Arcturus is the third brightest star seen from Earth. It is an ancient red giant from the generation born before Sol. Its worlds are either gas giants or ice chunks. While some rocky debris exists, the metal content is 25% lower than normal. To build Arcturus Station, metallic asteroids were towed through the mass relays to the construction site. That is crazy. Send gigantic asteroids through a mass relay? Now that... Don't tell Bollock about that. He might get some ideas. Many of these asteroids remain near the station. They're mined-out areas home to transient populations. So, interesting. The expense of bringing construction materials into the system was acceptable due to its strategic value. With 3 primary mass relays, in addition to the secondary one to Sol, Arcturus is a major communications and military choke point. The Alliance First Fleet is based in Arcturus, where it can guard the gates to Sol and react to incursions in the 3 connected clusters. The station also hosts the Systems Alliance Parliament and the Systems Alliance Military General Headquarters. Its permanent population is approximately 45,000. Arcturus is actually, from the galactic halo, one of the cluster of 52 stars that are crashing through the disk of the galaxy. In 1 billion years, Arcturus will be sailing through the depths of extragalactic dark space. That's pretty epic. Wow. Okay. Then we have Gagarin Station is the largest deep space station built by humanity, a vernal sphere design with a 500-meter diameter habitable area. It was constructed beyond Pluto, nearly 80 astronomical units, 12 billion kilometers, from Sol. Moving crew and material to this location bankrupted most of the backers. Gagarin was placed at the inner edge of the heliopause, point at which the solar wind can no longer push back the interstellar medium. It was built to test a number of faster-than-light drive principles that theoretically could only occur in interstellar space. The station was nicknamed Jumped Zero, and that's where Caden was stationed, right? Or trained, as it was intended to be the jumping-off point for humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Shortly after the station was completed, the Prothean ruins were discovered on Mars, rendering the entire effort moot. After struggling to make a profit for a decade, Gagarin was sold to the Systems Alliance in 2159 for a fraction of the construction costs. The Alliance refurbished it as a research and training center for recently discovered biotic phenomenon. Exactly. In 2169, the Biotic Acclimation and Training Program, or BOTS, which is, again, the thing that we kept on hearing Caden talking about, program was shut down and Gagarin became a general research facility. Its remote location and intentional isolation from the extranet makes it popular for dangerous research, particularly in the field of artificial intelligence. Humanity's first stable AI, the Alliance-sponsored ELIZA, achieved sapience at Gagarin in 2172. Today, Gagarin Station has a permanent population of approximately 9,000. A plan has been proposed to move it to the gravitationally stable Berry Center point between Pluto and the Charon Relay, allowing it to serve as a gateway facility between the Sol and Arcturus systems. The high cost of safely moving its mass has delayed this indefinitely. Okay. And that's all for planets and locations. I was wondering if maybe we would even see something about Ilos there, but seems as though that's not the case. What would we like to do next? I think council races, I mean, if we're trying to prioritize here, I think council races is probably pretty darn high up on that list. Oh, did we read this? For Bring Down the Sky? Technology translation. Oh, we did. I do remember that. I was surprised, though, that we got something specifically for Bring Down the Sky. But the way that it's labeled seems odd. Wow. Okay. We got a lot of stuff here. I'm assuming we didn't read Asari culture either? Or we might have, like, opened it up and may not be glowing because we looked at this previously and said, another day. But anyways, let's start reading it and see if it sounds familiar. So because of their long lifespan, Asari tend to have a long view not common in other races. When they encounter a new species or situation, the Asari are more comfortable with an extended period of passive observation and study than immediate action. They are unfazed at some of their investments or decisions that may not pay off for decades or centuries. Matriarchs can seem to make incomprehensible decisions, but their insight is evident when their carefully laid plans come to fruition. In interstellar relations, this long view manifests in unspoken policy of centrism. The Asari instinctively seek to maintain stable balances of economic, political, and military power. Traditionally, Asari spread their influence through cultural domination and intellectual superiority. They invite new species of advanced developments to join the galactic community, knowing that their ideals and beliefs will inevitably influence the existing culture. Then Asari military doctrine. So the Asari military resembles a collection of tribal warrior bands with no national structure. That's interesting. You would think as one of the, actually, the founding member of the Citadel races, or Citadel, the first species to discover the Citadel and sort of the founding member of the Council, rather, each community organizes its own unit, or you would think that for those reasons it would be very organized, whereas it seems like this is more sort of loosely organized and perhaps even chaotic. But let's see. Each community organizes its own unit as the locals see fit, and elect a leader to command them. Units from populous cities are large and well equipped, while those from far villages may be only a few women with small arms. Whereas the ones from large cities have been working out all day, and they are huge! They're ripped! I don't think that's the kind of arms they were referring to. But, there is no uniform. Everyone wears what they like. The Asari military is not an irregular militia, however. Those who serve are full-time professionals. Okay. So, not quite as informal as perhaps it seemed as though it might have been. The average Asari huntress is in the maiden stage of her life and has devoted 20 to 30 years to studying the martial arts. Asari choose to be warriors at a young age, and their education from that point is dedicated to sharpening the mind and body for that sole purpose. When they retire, they possess an alarming proficiency for killing. But when they retire? Well, I suppose you're just saying, like, after a bunch of years of training and practice of doing that stuff? Just seems kind of strange. I mean, are they doing this for their entire lives? In which case they're, like, over 1,000 when they retire? Because, then I'm imagining a 1,000-year-old Asari who's like, "Come back here! I'll murder you! One of these days! Where's my cane? Oh, where's my cane?" But huntresses fight individually or in pairs, depending on the tactics preferred in their town. One-on-one, a Huntress is practically unbeatable, possessing profound tactical insight, a hunter's eye, and a dancer's grace and alacrity. Biotics are common enough that some capability is a requirement to be trained as a Huntress. Lack of biotic talent excludes a young Asari from military service, although I believe it is extremely common for Asari to have biotic abilities. In fact, it is perhaps even more or less guaranteed that Asari have biotics. It's just a matter of how much do they train them. While fluid and mobile, Asari can't stand up in a firestorm the way a Krogan, Turian, or human could. Since their units are small and typically lack heavy armor and support weapons, they are almost incapable of fighting a conventional war, particularly one of a defensive nature. So Asari units typically undertake special operations missions. Like an army of ninja, they are adept at ambush, infiltration, and assassination, demoralizing and defeating their enemies through intense, focused guerrilla strikes. As popular Turin saying puts it, the Asari are the finest warriors in the galaxy. Fortunately, there are not many of them. That's one way to put it, I suppose. Alright, then we have Solariums. Salarian Biology. Salarians are noted for their high-speed metabolism, which allows them to function on just 1 hour of sleep a day. What? Their minds and bodies work faster than most sapient races, making them seem restless or hyperactive. The drawback of this active metabolism is a short lifespan of around 40 human years. The Salarians are amphibious, haplodiploid egg layers. Unfertilized eggs produce males, and fertilized eggs produce females. Once a year, a Salarian female will lay a clutch of dozen of eggs. Social rules prevent all but a fraction from being fertilized. As a result, 90% of the species is male. So that's interesting. In fact, I'm not even sure we've met any Salarian. Have we met? No, the Salarian council member is a woman, right? Have we met any other Salarian women, or have they all otherwise been men? Definitely predominantly men. Salarians have photographic memories and rarely forget a fact. They also possess a form of psychological imprinting, tending to defer to those they knew in their youth. Salarian hatching is a solemn ritual in which the clan Dalatros, matriarch, isolates herself with the eggs. The young Salarians psychologically imprint on her and tend to defer to her wishes. During the hatching of daughters, the Dalatrosses of the mother and father's clans are present at the imprinting. This ensures the offspring have equal loyalty to both, ensuring the desired dynastic and political unity. Okay, that's interesting. It does certainly seem as though Salarians in that way are quite different from the other species. Alright, then let's talk Salarian culture. The rare Salarian females are cloistered on their worlds out of tradition and respect. Maybe that's why we haven't run into many of them. Powerful female Dalatrosses are dynasts and political kingpins. They determine the political course of their respective regions through shrewd negotiation. Though male Salarians rise to positions of great authority in business, academia, or the military, they rarely have any input on politics. Due to their method of reproduction, Salarians have no concept of romantic love, sexual attraction, or the biological impulses and social rituals that complicate human lives. That's one way to put it. Male-female relationships are rare, due to the scarcity of females, and more akin to human friendship. Sexuality is strictly for the purpose of reproduction. Ancient social codes determine who gets to fertilize eggs, which produces more daughters, to continue to a bloodline. Fertilization generally only occurs after months of negotiation between the parents' clans, and is done for purposes of political and dynastic alliance. No Salarian would imagine defying this code. Salarian names are quite complex. A full name includes, in order, the name of a Salarian's planet, duchy, barony, fiefdom, family, and finally, the given name. Wow. Okay, then we have Salarian government. Salarian government is called the Salarian Union. It is a labyrinthine web of matrilineal bloodlines with political alliances formed through interbreeding. Hopefully not inbreeding. In many ways, the Salarian political network functions like the noble families of Earth's medieval Europe. I was going to say, it does remind me a lot of medieval Europe, what we were hearing before about the whole, like, basically your name is all the various locations or sub-locations that you come from, like, starting with your kingdom, your duchy, your town, your street, what have you. So, approaching 100 members, the first circle of a Salarian's clan comprises parents, siblings, uncles, aunts, and cousins. The next circle includes second cousins, etc., and escalates to well over 1,000 members. The 4th or 5th circle of a clan numbers into the millions. Salarian loyalty is greatest to their first circle and diminishes from there. Their photographic memories allow Salarians recognize all their myriad relatives. Okay. Then we have the Salarian military doctrine. In principle, the Salarian military is similar to the Alliance, a small volunteer army that focuses on maneuver warfare. What differentiates the Salarians is not their equipment or doctrine, but their intelligence services and rules of engagement. The Salarians believe that a war should be won before it begins. That's interesting. Only start in a war that they know they've already won. Conventional wisdom holds that the Salarians know everything about everyone, and this is not far from the truth. In war, the unquestioned superiority of their intelligence services allows them to use their small military to maximum effectiveness. Well before fighting breaks out, they possess complete knowledge of their enemy's positions, intentions, and timetable. In every war the Salarians have fought, they struck first and without warning. For the Salarians, to know an enemy plans to attack and to let it happen is folly. To announce their own plans to attack is insanity. They find the human moral concepts of do not fire until fired upon and declare a war before prosecuting it incredibly naive. In defensive wars, they execute devastating preemptive strikes hours before the enemy's own attacks. On the offense, they have never telegraphed their intentions with a declaration of war before attacking. Biotics are virtually unknown in the Salarian military, so that's another interesting one. Like I was saying, biotics extremely common, if not always happening with Asari, just a matter of, to what extent a given Asari trains in biotics, whereas here we're seeing with Salarians it is more or less completely unheard of. Nodes with such abilities are considered too valuable to be used as cannon fodder and are assigned to the intelligence services. Interesting. While capable of defending themselves against most threats, the Salarians know that they are small fish in a universe filled with sharks. As a point of survival, they've cultivated strong alliances with larger powers, particularly the Turians. Though the relationship between the two species was rocky at first due to the Krogan uplift fiasco, the Salarians take pains to keep this relationship strong enough that anyone who might threaten them risks Turian intervention. And the Turians, I think, are certainly a good friend to have in that sense, because we're hearing about, sure, the Asari are strong with their soldiers, however, they don't have many of them, and similar story with the Solarians, but I think the Turians are the ones that, for the most part, are bringing the muscle. So, Turian Biology, have we read about this at all? I'm not sure that we have. The Turian homeworld, Palavan, has a metal-poor core, generating a weak magnetic field and allowing more solar radiation into the atmosphere. To deal with this, most forms of life on Palavan evolved some form of metallic exoskeleton to protect themselves. What? Turians have exoskeletons? I did not remember this. Their reflective plate-like skin, it's just like really thick skin, makes Turians less susceptible to long-term, low-level radiation exposure. But they do not possess any sort of natural armor. Okay, so it's mostly just protection from radiation. Turian's thick skin does not stop projectiles and directed energy bolts. Okay. They aren't that much of a, living tank. That's the Krogan. Although life on Palavan is carbon-based and oxygen-breathing, it is built on dextro amino acids. This places the Turians in a distinct minority on the galactic stage. Quarians are the only other known sapient dextroprotein race. The food of humans, Asari or Salarians, who evolved in levo amino acid-based biospheres, will at best pass through Turian systems without providing any nutrition. At worst, it will trigger an allergic reaction that can be fatal if not immediately treated. So, Turians and Quarians very much need to be eating different foods. Then Turian culture. While Turians are individuals with personal desires, their instinct is to equate the self with the group, and set aside personal desires for the good of all. Turians are taught to have a strong sense of personal accountability, the Turian honor that other races find so remarkable. Turians are taught to own every decision they make, good or ill. The worst sin they can make in the eyes of their people is to lie about their own actions. Turians who murder will try to get away with it, but if directly questioned, most will confess the crime. And that is interesting because, of course, Saren is a Turian, and of course, we know that Saren basically just outright lied about all of his efforts to, about trying to make it sound like he's the good guy at the very beginning of the game when we were trying to bring him for his trial with the council, but he got off with just not even a warning, really. We didn't have any proof at the time. Of course, that has since changed, but that is just strange to see just how much Saren goes against this description here. Turians have a strong inclination toward public service and self-sacrifice, so they tend to be poor entrepreneurs. To compensate, they accepted the mercantile Volus as a client race, offering protection in exchange for their physical expertise. The Turian military is the center of their society. It is not just an armed force. It is an all-encompassing public works organization. The military police are also the civic police. The fire brigades serve the civilian population as well as military facilities. The Corps of Engineers builds and maintains spaceports, schools, water purification plants, and power stations. The Merchant Marine ensures that all worlds get needed resources. Okay. Sounds cool. And the Turian government is a hierarchical meritocracy. While it has great potential for misuse, this is tempered by the civic duty and personal responsibility Turians learn in childhood. Turians have 27 citizenship tiers, beginning with civilians, client races, and children. The initial period of military service is the second tier. Formal citizenship is conferred at the third tier, after boot camp. Client races, citizenship is granted after the individual musters out. High-ranked citizens are expected to lead and protect subordinates. Low-ranked citizens are expected to obey and support superiors. Promotion to another tier of citizenship is based on the personal assessments of one's superiors and coworkers. Throughout their lives, Turians ascend to higher tiers and are occasionally demoted to lower ones. The stigma associated with demotion lies not on the individual, but on those who promoted him when he wasn't ready for additional responsibility. This curbs the tendency to promote individuals into positions beyond their capabilities. Settling into a role and rank is not considered stagnation. Turians value knowing one's own limitations before, or more than being ambitious. At the top are the Primarchs, who each rule a colonization cluster. Primarchs vote on matters of national import. They otherwise maintain a hands-off policy, trusting the citizens on each level below them to do their jobs competently. Turians enjoy broad freedoms. So long as one completes his duties and does not prevent others from completing theirs, nothing is forbidden. For example, there are no laws against recreational drug use, but if someone is unable to complete his duties due to the drug use, his superiors step in. Judicial proceedings are interventions. Peers express their concern and try to convince the offender to change. If rehabilitation fails, Turians have no qualms about sentencing dangerous individuals to life and hard labor for the state. I think we might have read that one already. In the Turian military doctrine, although they lack the brutality of the Krogan, the skill of the Asari, and the virtuosity of the humans, I don't know about that last one. The Turian military has formidable discipline. Officers and NCOs are lifers with years of field experience. Enlisted personnel are thoroughly trained and stay calm under fire. Turian units don't break. Even if their entire line collapses, they fall back in order, setting ambushes as they go. Popular saying holds, you will only see Turian's back once he's dead. Boot camp begins on the 15th birthday. Soldiers receive a year of training before being assigned to a field unit. Officers train for even longer. Most serve until the age of 30, at which point they become a part of the reserves. Even if they suffer injuries preventing from frontline service, most do support work behind the lines. Biotics are uncommon. While admired for their exacting skills, Biotics' motives are not always fully trusted by the common soldier. The Turians prefer to assign their biotics to specialist teams called cabals. Command and control is decentralized and flexible. Individual squads can call for artillery and air support. They make extensive use of combat drones for light duties and practice combined arms. Infantry operates with armor, supported by overhead gunships. Strategically, they're methodical and patient, and dislike risky operations. Tradition is important. Each legion has a full-time staff of historians who chronicle its battle honors in detail. The oldest have records dating back to the Turian Iron Age. If a legion is destroyed in battle, it is reconstituted rather than replaced. The Turians recruit auxiliary units from conquered or absorbed minor races. Auxiliaries are generally light infantry or armored cavalry units that screen and support the main Turian formations. At the conclusion of their service in the auxiliaries, recruits are granted Turian citizenship. And then Turian religion, I don't think we have too many more here. I know we have a lot of stuff here, but we delayed a lot of this, and I want to make sure we get the chance to read it, because I think that a lot of this stuff is what makes Mass Effect so interesting, is the level of depth that we see with the characters and the worlds in which everyone lives. Just gives a lot more context to what everyone is doing, how they interact with one another, to the point where nothing feels like it's happening for a coincidence. It all feels like it's happening for a reason, and many of those reasons are drawing from the things that we're reading about here. Although Turians have a strict moral code, their belief in individual responsibility means that the concepts of good and evil are simply the individual's choice between egotism and altruism in any given decision. They have no concept of good deities that encourage noble behavior, or evil ones that tempt individuals to do misdeeds. Turians believe that groups and areas have spirits that transcend the individual. I think we've definitely read this one. This one sounds familiar. And then Turian's Unification War. At about the time the Salarians and Asari were forming the Council, the Turians were embroiled in a bitter civil war. The Unification War, as it was later named, began with hostilities between the colonies furthest from the Turian homeworld, Palaven. These colonies were run by local chieftains, many of whom had distanced themselves from the hierarchy. Without the galvanizing influence of the government, colonies became increasingly isolated and xenophobic. Colonists began wearing emblems or facial markings to differentiate themselves from members of other colonies, and open hostilities became common. When war finally broke out, the hierarchy maintained strict diplomacy and refused to get involved. After several years of fighting, less than a dozen factions remained, and the hierarchy finally intervened. By that time, chieftains were too weak to resist. They were forced to put an end to fighting and renew their allegiance with the hierarchy. Though peace was restored, it took several decades of animosity between colonists to fade completely. To this day, most Turians still wear the facial markings of their home colonies. As a point of interest, the Turian term barefaced refers to one who is beguiling or not to be trusted. It is also slang term for politicians. And that one does also sound familiar, and I don't think that Garrus has any markings on his face, so is he technically a barefaced Turian? He might be. He might be. Okay, so we do have several more of the secondary ones. I think to break this up a little bit, let's go primary, just so you don't hear me reading all this stuff. And we get someone else's voice in here.
Faster-than-light drives use element zero cores to reduce the mass of the ship, allowing higher rates of acceleration. This effectively raises the speed of light within the mass effect field, allowing high-speed travel with negligible relativistic time dilation effects. Starships still...
Sorry, I dropped my controller. My bad. My bad. Let's see. Where were we? Actually, though. Where were we? Ships and vehicles? Yes.
Faster-than-light drives use element zero cores to reduce the mass of the ship, allowing higher rates of acceleration. This effectively raises the speed of light within the mass effect field, allowing high-speed travel with negligible relativistic time dilation effects. Starships still require conventional thrusters, chemical rockets, commercial fusion torch, economy ion engine, or military anti-proton drive, in addition to the FTL drive core. With only a core, a ship has no motive power. The amount of EZO and power required for a drive increases exponentially to the mass being moved and the degree it is being lightened. Very massive ships, or very high speeds, are prohibitively expensive. If the field collapses while the ship is moving at faster than light speed, the effects are catastrophic. The ship is snapped back to sublight velocity, the enormous excess energy shed in the form of lethal Cherenkov radiation.
Now, I'm no physicist, but that sounds bad. But then I thought we had Sovereign was glowing before I dropped my controller, so I think momentarily I might have just accidentally brushed over it, but I don't think we've actually heard it yet. And I think that will be a good thing for us to read up on here.
Sovereign is the flagship of the rogue Spectre's Sarin. An enormous dreadnought larger than any other ship in any known fleet, it is crewed with both Geth and Krogan. At 2 kilometers long, its spinal-mounted main gun is likely capable of penetrating another dreadnought's kinetic barriers with a single shot. How Sarin acquired this incredible warship is unknown. The prevailing opinion is that Sovereign is a Geth construct, while others believe it is a Prothean relic. Its design, however, hints at a more alien and mysterious origin. The attack on Eden Prime demonstrated Sovereign's ability to generate mass effect fields powerful enough to land on a planetary surface. This implies it has a massive element zero core and the ability to generate staggering amounts of power.
Okay. And, of course, we did recently learn on Vermeer that, well, Sovereign is, not just any old starship. It's kind of a Reaper. Kind of a Reaper. So that is apparently all of our primary entries here. Just take a look at secondary to verify how much we have. Oh, did I? Oh, you know what I did? When I dropped my controller, did I, like, accidentally mark all entries as written? Or as read? I think I did. So, well, that's one way. That's one way to no longer have any idea what we still have left to read. So, I think that was, I'm fairly certain, the last of the primary entries, which, of course, for the most part, primary entries are more important than the secondary ones. So, glad we still managed to get through all of those. And, I mean, we made a point of reading the most important things, I think, for the secondaries. I think for the most part, we were looking at primarily ships and vehicles, technology, weapons, armor, and equipment. The things that we had some stuff remaining in, which is sort of the interesting for general curiosity's sake, but not things that are crucially important to the main things happening in the game, other than obviously like the Mass Effect itself and technology directly based off that. But I think we've already read up on just about all that stuff, so I suppose that's where we draw the line in that case.